It's just a dog.
Wait. Oh, just a little doggy. Come here.
It's just a dog.
Dog?
Dog.
What's his name, huh? Glenn. Oh, you kidding me? Who's the idiot naming dogs these days, Lieutenant?
What do you want to call him, Fido?
Yes! Give me an exit down that alley! Sergeant! Guards! Both Where did he come from?
What do you see?
I don't know, man. What's going on?
How do we get out of here? Lieutenant, where's the exit at? We're boxed in. We'll take a position by the wall. Go!
When we meet Staff Sergeant Nance, my character, he is just signing his final papers for his retirement. And he's the old salty veterans going off into the sunset. Happily so, because he's taken some demons with him. He feels a little bit of guilt and shame for some of his actions, got some guys killed in action, so he's kind of limping away. And he's brought back into the fray when the fan hits the whatever you just said. And he's got to take a group of young Marines, Green Marines, back into battle to save some civilians. So he's back at it.
Second Lieutenant William Martinez is he's an ambitious, hungry lieutenant right out of school, and he's given this assignment, he's given this mission, he's kind of thrown in the middle of it, and he sees this as an opportunity to kind of prove himself. What I found interesting about the whole thing was basically the relationship between a lieutenant and staff sergeant. I never really understood the ranking system and how it worked, but I had a buddy of mine who's in the Marines, and he basically explained to me that a lieutenant does outrank a staff sergeant, and even though the staff sergeant may be a veteran, have more experience, as in Nance's character, the lieutenant still calls the shots at the end of the day. So, you know, Martinez felt a lot of pressure, you know. Although he did want it, he thought he wanted that, and he thought he was up for the challenge. He realizes he needs his staff sergeant.
When it happens, I mean, I think I am taking care of my nieces, so it's kind of a new thing for me, and not something I'm quite comfortable with, and suddenly the aliens attack, and, you know, kind of thrust into this new mode of trying to save their lives.
At 1446 Pacific Standard Time, 12 different locations across the globe were breached in what appears to have been a coordinated attack by an unknown enemy. This is a textbook military invasion. We are the last offensive force on the West Coast. We cannot lose Los Angeles.
Elena Santos is basically a tech sergeant for the Air Force, and what she does is she works monitoring algorithms in the computer networking systems, checking for hackers and infiltrations in the computer networking systems that are important to the Homeland Security. She works basically partly with NSA and a couple of other groups from around the world that are globally connected to networks and satellites that observe atmospheric interference and gauge possible terrorist attacks or enemy infiltrations into no-fly zones, both in air and no-entry zones on land, and the computer networking systems.
And it feels like, you know, by the way the guy's dressed and the way the guy is, you know, especially with his son, is that maybe he's picking him up from daycare. You know, he just got through working, you know, 9-to-5 job somewhere. You know, life is probably not the easiest, you know, with the economy or whatever. And he goes, picks him up, and then all of a sudden this stuff happens, and he's, you know, he's maybe trying to reach his wife, you know, or, you know, I don't know what's happening. So that also comes into play as to, like, you know, this kid, you know, got to get him home safe, you know, so it was a rough one.
I feel my strengths are guys who are moving forward and don't look back, you know, that aren't too introspective, but just kind of live by their own code. And sometimes, you know, half the people hate the code, and half the people can secretly relate to it. And Nance is sort of that, you know, old school, salty dude, you know. He, not much for words, he's not much for pity, and he wants to get things done, and he doesn't care how it's done. And he's got to take this young group of Marines who are sort of the new style Marines and he's got to whip them into shape and get them battle ready. So I like playing those characters because they're complicated, complex, and I like the action aspects of this film too.